Hello, everyone. Welcome to another season of Inside the Tape on Inside the Birds. I'm Geoff Mosher alongside Adam Caplan. And as always, we bring in Greg Cosell to give us a tape breakdown of the Eagles game. And of course, you see Greg, he's an NFL film senior producer and the host of ESPN's NFL Matchup Show. Welcome to the show, Greg. Welcome back another season. We're excited about it. Obviously, the Eagles start the season off 1-0, and some changes for us. This is now a two-part show where we do the offense and defensive tape in separate shows. So we're excited to have you on. And are you ready to bring the scalpel in?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, let us do it. We decided, Adam and I, that we thought we would start defensive tape breakdown because, look, it was a defensive game. The Eagles win 24-20 over the Cowboys Thursday night at the Link. No points scored by the Cowboys in the second half. So the defense really shone through. And obviously, Jalen Carter getting ejected from the game put the defense under the spotlight. So let's go straight to the D-line, the edge group. What stood out on tape from you in how the Eagles compensated for the lack of Jalen Carter?
Well, I thought Jordan Davis played his best game as a pro, hands down. He was phenomenal in all areas, both in run defense and with some pass rush as well. I thought his pad level was lower. He just looked like a quicker athlete. I think this is what they had expected or hoped when they drafted him, because now he's what? Is this his fourth year on him?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he just played stronger and moved quicker, especially as a pass rusher. You saw that a couple of times in the first half where he had two really strong snapshots of that. But overall, I mean, where he was one-on-one versus the center BB, he just dominated him. So that was the first thing you notice when you watch the tape is just how dominant Jordan Davis was. And hopefully that can continue. The other things I noticed in terms of individuals on defense was Makuba. I thought he was a factor in the run game, both when he was aligned in the box and playing downhill from the back end. One of the things that really stood out watching his college tape, and it's probably innate, it's something you can't be taught, but it's just part of who he is he sees the game fast. So he triggers fast and he reacts. But I guess the first thing, just taking a step back, guys, the first thing I really noticed was the Eagles' personnel game plan, and we'll see if that continues. When they were in their base defense, which was not that many snaps, I actually, looked up and they only played, I'm trying to see, let's see. They didn't play many snaps of base, but the point is that in their base, DeJean played outside corner and Sidney Brown was at safety. When they went to their nickel, they moved DeJean in the slot. They had Jackson on the outside opposite Mitchell, and Makuba was at safety. So Brown was off the field, which makes sense because he's not really a pass defender at all. And the other thing that stood out was you saw that Mitchell very often traveled with Pickens, which is not something that happened obviously a year ago.
And it was Byron Young real quick when base, right? When they had the 5-man front, the extra lineman, it would be Byron Young mostly alongside.
Yes, and actually he showed up as well. The guy who did not have a good game, I would say, was Jomo. He did not. He had a snap or two, but overall, I was looking for more. I would say Josh Uche really showed up as well. I mean, his quickness as an edge pass rusher consistently showed up. And that's probably a good deal. And I think you'll probably see Uche get more snaps because, Jalix Hunt is not quite ready to rush the quarterback. He's still learning how to do that. So, you might start seeing Uche more. He certainly showed up in the game against the Cowboys.
So, Greg, first thing I want to ask you about Jordan Davis, because you only go by what the tape tells you. It was nothing personal. Yeah. Let's face it. You rarely had strong comments that were positive because the tape told you that.
The tape didn't have strong comments.
Right. No, again.
I was just reciting the tape.
Right. So let me ask you this question, because we're not asking you to check out what kind of body fat he has. But the thing that struck me at training camp, Geoff and I saw him at the Maxwell Club Awards 4 years ago. Geoff, was it 4 years ago?
I was there.
Okay. We're all there. Yep.
he was easily 350, if not huge, way overweight.
Yep.
When I saw him at training camp this year, I'm like, wait a minute, is that Jordan Davis? He was so lean, which you never would say about Jordan Davis. So off tape, because this is what you're looking at, what does he look like to you physically?
He looked better. I mean, he looked thinner. Now, again, I don't know his weight, but I'm sure he lost a few pounds.
A lot.
Look, the guy, I don't want to sit here and say he's a great athlete because, people have a different definition of what that means.
Sure.
When he ran a 4.8 at the combine, he's a great athlete. Well, we know he can run fast in a straight line. That doesn't necessarily mean he can be a great defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. But the point is that he just looked, well, the best way to talk about him is his pad level. Because it doesn't matter how strong you are. If you stand up straight in the NFL, you're going to get moved. And his pad level was lower. He looked stronger. He was moving quicker in confined space, which is what a defensive tackle is. It's irrelevant that he runs a 4.8 40. He'll have one of those plays a year, and people go, "Oh my God, he ran somebody down." But that's not really relevant to playing his position. So he was a dominant player in that game. He was probably the most dominant defensive player on the field for the Eagles. Although it's tough to go away from Zach Bond, who
pretty interesting,
who might have just ended Miles Sanders' career. But
why do you say that, Greg?
When you're a running back and you cannot run away from a linebacker, that's a problem.
Definitely.
Bond is such a good player, and I tell you, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Jihad Campbell, who I thought showed up as well.
Yeah, hold on to that. We're going to get to the second level in a second. I wanted to ask you again on Jordan Davis because Adam mentioned the new physique. We both made a point in the preseason and training camp of saying physique alone will not get you good pass rush. You also have to have moves. I have a clip that we'll take a look of later. I think it was Tyler Smith. I could be wrong. Could have been BB. We'll check it out. Where it looked like he used a nice arm under move to detach and get to Dak Prescott. Are you seeing more hand usage and technique from Jordan Davis?
Well, that has to go. I mean, that's part of growing as a pass rusher, no matter how big or strong you may be. Okay. And again, that's wonderful because there is some speed to power where sometimes you can just drive a guy back. But at some point you have to play off that contact. You have to be able to use your hands in whatever way you're taught. So, you're happy to see that as well. The big question is, can he keep it going? I mean, we assume, as we're recording this, the league has not made any determination on Jalen Carter, correct? The assumption is that he'll play. It's the big national game of the week. It's a rematch of the Super Bowl. I mean, for one, I'd be surprised if he's suspended, but, you never know. But the point is, look, he also played 53 snaps, which is the second most snaps of his career. I think he played the most against Buffalo a few years ago in that big game that seemed like it went on forever. But, so look, I'm not saying he's going to play 53 snaps every week once Jalen Carter is there, but if you can get him to 35, 40 snaps on a weekly basis and he can play like this, now you've got something.
Greg, on that, just before we move on, so you saw from beginning to end movement, technique.
Yep.
He didn't look gassed because that's, as you pointed out many times, when he gets gassed, his technique's bad.
He didn't never look gassed in this game.
Awesome. That's great. Wow.
Good.
Wow.
Good.
I mean, people have to also remember, D tackles don't make plays on every play, obviously. That's just not, but he never looked gassed. He never
they didn't really
straight up, which he used to do, and it'd be like he shouldn't be on the field right now.
Right. Remember, they only played 3 defensive tackles.
Right.
So Vic's like, hey, this is what Gabe Hull's not a run guy. That's the issue with him.
Yeah.
As I understand it. So
look, at some point, the bottom line is this is the NFL, guys. At some point, Jordan Davis, as the expression goes, has to fish or cut bait. He's got to be able to play. He was a first-round pick that they traded up for. He's in his 4th season. At some point, he's got to play more than 20 snaps a game and be a factor. And he was a big factor, a dominant factor in this game.
Yeah. It's interesting, Greg. If what I recall, I think the Cowboys came out in the second half and really started trying to run the ball. And I thought that they were doing that intentionally because without Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis' snap count was going up. Ajomo's was going up. Young's was going up. He hasn't played a lot of football. But then the lightning delay came, right? They ran the ball, I think, 3 or 4 straight times.
Yeah.
They broke the long run by Sanders, but then he fumbled, which, by the way, came after a run.
Did the fumble happen after the lightning delay?
the fumble happened, I think, no, it was like right before the lightning delay, wasn't it?
It was right before.
Yeah, it was right before, because I remember joking that the Eagles just got this turnover and all the momentum got sapped out of the building because the lightning delay, and then they had to come back out.
Well, the thing is the play before the fumble was Ferguson dropped a touchdown. Should have been a touchdown.
Correct.
And that was that would have put the Cowboys ahead. So for all the quality defense that the Eagles had, there were a number of drops here that could have changed the game.
Right. All right, so we talked about the interior level. Zach Bond, you mentioned that one play. Jihad Campbell, man, Craig. Just for me watching, I was really these two guys. Their athleticism, I think their range really stands out. I know Nakobe Dean was a pretty good athlete, but when Jihad Campbell's in there, to me it looks like these guys are just flying everywhere.
Well, Campbell had a great play where he ran down the seam, play speed and range on a throw to span forward down the seam in the middle of the third quarter. And not only did it show his athleticism, but it was recognition and reaction. Look, the guy's 6'3", 240. He's the best athlete. He's probably the best athlete on the team and on the defense. The guy's a freakish athlete. I mean, taking nothing away from Nakobe Dean, who I was told in the building they thought played really well over the last 7-8 games last year until he got hurt. But he's not going to get his job back because Jihad Campbell is 6'3", 240.
Yeah.
And he's a better athlete.
Hey, on that, Greg, looking at your notes here. So as an edge rusher, I know he did a little bit. What did you think of his?
Once or twice, not very often.
Right. But did they line him up particularly at edge, or did he blitz at all?
Well, if he's lined up on the edge, I don't usually view that as a blitz, but I guess maybe it's considered that. He did a few times. I can't remember how many.
Gotcha.
But that wasn't something they did with regularity. So, but they do take when he lined up on the edge almost every time, except I think one time he started stacked and then shifted to on the edge. So again, I don't know the reason Vic does that, but that's the way they do it. Bond did the same thing last year a lot, where he would start stacked and then walk up to the edge.
Right. So it's not a 6-man front. It was really, they were in nickel and he would come down to be the
front because they do it in nickel. Yeah.
Right. And then I think sometimes they do that in third and medium when they think that the offense still might run and they want to have a little bit more up front. Right. Yeah. Anything else about Bond and Campbell that really stand out to you? I do have some stuff that we'll look at in a little bit.
No, I mean, we kind of talked about it, I can't remember, I'm just, again.
Great hustle. It's great hustle, like you mentioned, to chase down Miles Sanders. I mean, I know we can knock Miles Sanders, but Zach Bond really finished that play.
Yeah, and there's no question that, look, Bond can run, but, Sanders was and the crazy thing was Bond was trying to knock the ball out, even, and he still was gaining ground.
Yeah. Incredible. I also thought there was a play, Greg, where Bond successfully defended a corner route that reminded me of the Jacksonville game first.
I know the play you're talking about. Yeah,
which just really shows you. I mean, he's really just in in a year span, he's come such a far way with his recognition and ability to see things. Really good. All right. Well, I guess we have to, we have to talk about a few things that didn't go so well. So the number 2 cornerback. So by virtue of Vic's decision to have Quinyon Mitchell travel with George Pickens, it left Adoree Jackson on CD Lamb, which was not.
I think the fact that DeJean played in the base tells you that they're probably still searching for a corner opposite Mitchell, and they may still be searching. We'll see if Bennett, ends up filling that spot. I personally think he will, but I'm not there. I don't know what the feeling is in the building, but I think that Bennett will end up. He played 7 snaps because Jackson came out just due to injury and then came back in, so they obviously weren't ready to let Bennett, rock and roll. But we'll see what happens going forward. But they're telling you that they're not quite comfortable with Jackson. We don't have to guess that.
Right.
Let me ask a question real quick on Jackson. Because the knock on him, we know about the injuries, smaller guy. There were people around the league we spoke with, Geoff and I, to get intel on what was the issue with the Giants. Some teams didn't, quite frankly, don't think he ran as well as he used to because he was a speed guy. How did he look to you a little based on what you saw?
Well, I mean, that's a hard thing to say because he got beat a few times. I think the one that was particularly noticeable was the crosser with CD Lamb because, Lamb is he's not slow, but he's not a burner.
Yeah.
And Jackson was not making up any ground at all. It's those kinds of plays where you think if you have speed, you're going to make up some ground. So, look, he's played in the league for a number of years. He's had some injuries. He's a veteran. That's why they brought him in, because they needed a veteran presence. Once Slay left, they were uncertain as to who would play corner opposite Mitchell. So they brought in a veteran, figuring, okay, I don't know whether they saw that as stopgap or whether they thought he could still play at a reasonably high level. But obviously through the offseason and training camp, they're now telling you they're not sure he can do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. As we stay in the second level, what did the tape show about Andrew Mukuba? You said he played in the nickel. When the Eagles were in nickel, he would come in. Sidney Brown was off the field. What did it show?
I like Mukuba. I think he's a good player. I think he's smart. He's aware. The biggest issue with him will be, can he stay healthy? Because even though they put on some weight, you can tell body type. He's never going to be 210 or 212. He just doesn't have that kind of body. And he's a super aggressive player. But he's just a very, very aware player. The reason they drafted him in the second round is because in Vic's defense, and again, every position, if Vic was sitting here, he'd tell you every position is important, the way coaches think. But in that defense, linebackers and safeties are absolutely critical. And they drafted him because he's such a smart, savvy, aware, intuitive player. And you can see the tape. You saw that on tape at Texas. You saw that on tape in this game. The guy, he's just one of those guys. That's the kind of stuff that is hard to teach. He just sees the game really fast. In fact, somebody from the front office, who I know very well, texted me and he had heard me talk about Prescott, and he said, "You nailed Prescott." And then we just started going back and forth, and I told him how much I like Mukuba, and we both agreed that he just sees the game fast. I mean, he's one of those guys. He just sees it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a quarterback in many ways. When you're a safety and you're on the back end, you've got to see it all. It's very hard to teach a quarterback to quote unquote see the game. Some guys do automatically, and other guys, they might have great physical talent, but they just don't see it.
Right. One thing as we move on here, though, let's say someday the Eagles decide, you know what, and we know DeJean's played a little corner this year so far in one game.
Right.
If they decide next year, you know what, and Howie doesn't make a trade at the trade deadline to get a starting corner who would be here for a while, and they decide next year Coop's going to go to corner. You did tell us that you like, correct me if I'm wrong, you like Mukuba's tape as a nickel at Clemson, correct?
Well, he did play nickel at Clemson. Well, I don't know if they see him that way. That's okay. Another question. I don't know what they see. The other issue, and it's not an issue today, and it's not an issue tomorrow, but how old is Blankenship?
25, 26.
25, 26.
That's all?
Yeah. I'll double check.
He's got time. He's got time because he's a really good player.
Yep. All right. You ready to look at some tape and break it down for us?
Sure. Yeah.
And as always, for those who are listening on the podcast platform, we'll give you all the information. We'll set it up. We'll let you know audibly what's going on so that you're not lost in the fray. So one of the guys that we've already talked about was Jordan Davis. So why don't we put him under the microscope here?
Hey, you know that one guy in the group chat who hit a 5-leg parlay week 1 and he wouldn't shut up about it for the rest of the season? Sounds like Caplan, right? Yeah, it could be him. It could be you. And we would all want to be you. MyBookie makes it stupid easy to get in on the action, whether it's college ball, NFL, super contest, and survivor pools, all the spreads, player props, and in-game lines that you could want all under one roof. Come on, who wants more than that? If you're new to MyBookie, use our code, THEBIRDS, THEBIRDS, THEBIRDS. Use the code, and any bet you choose up to $500 is fully covered. Make your play, and if it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using your bet back bonus token. There is no better time to jump in right now. No better place to play. Football is back. Let's make some money with MyBookie.
And this is in the third quarter, Greg. It is, I believe, a 2nd and 22. So they're in pass rush mode. And as you mentioned, we don't normally see Jordan Davis a lot in the 4-man front, but
not this year. You will this year.
Right. So I'm going to run it and let you kind of talk about what you see here as he's lined up over left guard Tyler Smith. I believe this is a batted pass.
Yeah, but look.
Wow, look at him push him back.
Just look at him
Yep.
pushing back. And
We're gonna
by the way,
rewind
Jeff, if you could run that again, notice how much lower the pad level is. Look how he does not stand up straight. Just watch this as the play starts.
Yep.
See how low he is right there?
Low.
He's not,
He's got his hand in.
He's not standing up straight. So he can use the force of his core and his lower body to drive Tyler Smith, who, by the way, is not a small man and a very good player. He can use the force of his core. Most of this comes from the core and your lower body. Everybody just assumes, oh, you got strong hands. And by the way, strong hands matter because a lot of times you can see knockback power initially, with your hands. But when you can drive a person back like this, that's not just your hands. That's your core. And I know for a fact from someone in the building that they've worked really hard with him on his core. Because your core, for normal people too, like us, your core is so critical. I mean, that's the bottom line. It all comes from your core. That's why Lane Johnson can do the double under move. It's all in your core, and you can see.
And that's what I was going to say is, what were you going to say? Finish up.
No, I was just going to say you can see it's pad level. I mean, look right there. Look, did we see him that low last year like that?
No,
driving people back. No.
Yeah. By the way, to use your own phrase, Greg, like you once described him coming out of college as a player who has strength but not power, if I recall. But he's now showing this is moving all pro left guard.
Yeah. Power is strength with movement.
Right. And there it is.
Yeah.
And then he has the athleticism to jump up and tip that pass.
Yeah.
So that was good too.
And think about it. It does. You could bench 500 pounds, but if you get stood up with bad technique, you're like someone who can only lift 100.
Oh, you must be with me at the gym then, Adam, when I'm doing that.
Really? I didn't know you had a strong core though. According to somebody, I don't know. Anyway,
let's look at another one that was pretty impressive from Jordan Davis. This one is in the forget what the
here he's a 2-eye.
Yep.
Just on the inside shoulder of Tyler Smith.
Right. And this is what I was talking about, Greg, with the hand move, the hand usage.
Yeah.
Watching that arm under move. Oh, yeah. So you're right. BB takes him on kind of a down block there, right? Because it's a play action pass. And watch.
Right. Because right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
BB's not a big center either.
No, but we've seen two things now. We've seen him play with power. And in this one, we see him not only play with power, but a little
violent with his hands.
Yeah. And then right there with the right arm to clear him. So he drives him back with power, and then he clears him with his right arm.
And then the pursuit. There's the pursuit to almost had Dak. He almost had him there.
Yeah. Dak got a little lucky here, but it worked.
Yep, absolutely. So
no,
things there.
Yeah, there were plenty of plays like this with Jordan Davis in this game. Look, as Adam said, when I talk about a player, it's what I see on tape. I mean, if he continues to play like this guy is going to have an all-pro season. I mean, he was a dominant force inside.
Right. All right, another play. Now we're going to go to the second level here. We mentioned a play from Jahad Campbell, rookie linebacker, that I thought was really impressive here, where he basically, runs the pole, right, as they call it, down the field to defend the tight end.
This was the seam to span forward, right?
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Give it a little fast forward as we just take a bird's eye view of it here.
But look at the recognition too.
Yes, that's what I wanted to get at with you. I'm going to rewind it because it looks like you would think, just based on the way the release is, that Zach Baun's going to have this guy, but it's not that way. So go ahead and tell me what you see.
Well, the reason it's not is because of the motion across the formation to 3-by-1. If they stayed 2-by-2, Baun would have probably been the hold. I don't know this for a fact, but that would be my guess.
Right.
I think it's somewhat educated, my guess here, because you can see they bump. Yep. They bump over based on the motion. So now what happens is Campbell becomes, the whole defender here.
Yeah. Now I'm freezing it here because he recognizes it. You can see Campbell recognizes, as you mentioned, but he's still a good distance with some traffic there, but takes a great angle, right? I mean, this is where the athleticism shines in.
I mean, look at him. Yeah.
Yeah. I shouldn't have said traffic because it's almost like a switch off, but I mean, he sees Baun goes to the other guy, and right there, he still has to make up ground a couple of yards here.
Yep.
And boom. That's really good. This is a guy playing his first game.
Wow.
Yeah, no, And there was a play early in the game where he really showed some power, some stack and shed. I mean, he's really an improving player, and he's just a phenomenal athlete.
And the instincts, Greg, were the question because he was so new to linebacker, as you know. And that's the thing that stuns me. Jeff and I saw this in training camp. He had a number of plays in practice.
He must also have a great way of teaching backers because look at what Zach Bond
Bobby King, the linebackers coach.
By the way, you see how he sees the tight end put his hand out, and he at the last minute Campbell himself gets his hands out he never saw the ball. He basically is breaking up.
He read the tight end.
Ford did a pretty good job here with late hands, but Campbell reacted so quick once he saw his hand.
That's exactly. He reacted. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is, by the way, a play I'm sure, Greg, you've seen a million times from Dak to either for all of his tight. He loves the tight end seam.
Yeah. Well, it was also, two shell coverage. So the middle's open and, he's figuring that he's got this throw, which technically he does. What I mean? He didn't make a bad read.
Right. No, not at all. It wasn't even that. It's not that he was late with it. It was just, I don't think people realize how quick John Campbell is.
And by the way, quarterbacks are taught. I remember having this conversation 100 times with Jaws, and I am sure it's the same today, that if you see the back of a defender, you throw the ball because he can't see the ball.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. His back is there the whole way. Man, I'm sure Dak is like, I can't believe I didn't complete this pass. So unbelievable. Good stuff there from Jahad Campbell. All right. I said, we have to see the ugly a little bit too. So we'll take a look at Adoree Jackson on CeeDee Lamb. Now, you thought, which one to you, Greg, is the one where you say, come on, Adoree? Is it the 26-yarder or the 34-yarder?
It was the one on 3rd and 1 down inside the red zone where it was a reduced split by Lamb, and he just turned them all around, and he beat him badly. It was a 3rd and 1.
Yeah, so. I think this is it. I could be wrong.
It was early in the game. There you go. They reduced Lamb. Lamb goes, he shifts.
Mm-hmm. Why does that disrupt Adoree so much, that shift?
Well, it doesn't disrupt him. It just means he has a lot more space because it's 3rd and 1, so they're going to be playing man.
Right.
So now he's got a lot more space because Lamb can go anywhere. He can go inside. He can go outside. Yep. So he starts inside, and he's actually what Jackson's trying to play his leverage. He's trying to play to his help because you notice how, he's playing to his outside. Now, the problem is once you turn your body like he does right there, you can't cover an outside breaking route. You can't. There's not a human being alive that can do that.
Yeah. And would you say CD's a little rare in that he's a tall, lean athlete who can sort of
just if you go back a little bit, look how close CD comes to him. He steps as the expression is, he steps on his toes. Right. So that's a great route by CD. By the way, Dotson did the exact same thing on his 51-yarder when he stepped on the toes of, I forget who it was. It might have been Bland, but
it was Bland, yeah.
Yeah. But
no, it was Elam. I'm sorry, it was Elam.
It was Elam. That's correct. But I mean, he took him. This is just the subtleties of route running. Instead of rushing the route, and saying, "Oh, I got to get there because it's a vertical type route." Lamb showed great patience and made sure that he stepped on the toes of Jackson, which made it even harder for Jackson because now, look, that's a great freeze, Jeff.
That's the spot right there.
Yeah, that's a great freeze. Look how close Lamb is to Jackson.
Yep. I mean, that's a very difficult recovery for a corner because he
for
has
any
to
corner.
his hips.
And one other thing, Greg, is that throughout this game, just seemed like the pressure was not great. Did that look like to you the case? Eagles defensive pressure?
Not great. I would say not great. Yeah. Okay. And I thought Dak played well, and I was quite frankly surprised based on my film study of last year. I think he supposedly lost weight. Maybe that allowed him to clear his hips when he threw the ball, which he did not do last year very often. So, but he threw the ball well. I mean, believe me, that should have been a touchdown to Ferguson. We saw Lamb have, 3 drops that he never has. One of them was a big play in the 4th quarter. Another one was a dig ball in the second half that would have been a first down on 3rd down. So you don't see that very often, but it happens.
Right. One question, one follow-up. Speaking of pass rush, the Eagles did sign Za'DariusSmith. What are your thoughts? And make sure we ask you about him.
I like it. I thought he played well for Detroit last year. I think that tells you that they're probably not yet comfortable with J.L.X. Hunt rushing the quarterback because they're looking now for an edge guy that can do that. And again, I don't know what kind of shape he's in because he hasn't been anywhere since the season ended.
Yep.
And, I don't know if he's going to be ready to go this Sunday against the Chiefs, but, maybe he is. Maybe he can play 12 snaps or 15 snaps. I mean, he's not playing 40 snaps. So we don't know the answer to that. But, to me, as a situational player, he's fine. You're not signing him to play 40 snaps.
Right. He's a bigger guy, Greg. I'm wondering if you've seen any. Yeah, and have you seen any tape, whether with Cleveland or Baltimore? Who else was he with?
Detroit last year.
Yeah. Of him moving inside and rushing.
He's done that in his career. Absolutely. He's moved around a lot. He's and he can stand up inside. Teams have used him that way. No, he can play both. And he can do it from multiple positions as a stand-up guy or with his hand in the ground. He's a really intriguing guy.
Awesome. Good stuff.
If I'm not mistaken, he's the guy from Kentucky who played in college with Bud Dupree.
Oh, okay. I didn't even realize that.
I'm almost sure that's Za'DariusSmith.
Great. Okay. Well, that is a great overview of the Eagles defense from the season opener. And of course, on the next episode, we'll get you the entire tape breakdown of the Eagles offense. For Greg Cosell and Adam Caplan, I'm Geoff Mosher. You just watched the first 2025 edition of Inside the Tape with Greg Cosell. Catch you on the next one.